There's a bit of uncertainty around the Senran Kagura series at the moment. Kenichiro Takaki, the creator of Senran Kagura, left Marvelous, though he is staying on to finish the next game in the series, Senran Kagura 7. The fate of that game is also kind of unclear, as the original vision of it isn't something that can be released on the PS4 because of Sony's policies. While development is still going ahead, there hasn't been any update in about a year, unfortunately. Because of that, I figured it might be a good idea to talk about the series and the things that I'd like to see in future games. My wishes or ideas might not be realistic options for the developers, but I think they're still fun to discuss and talk about. If you've got your own ideas on what you'd like to see in future Senran Kagura games, let me know in the comments. I've actually wanted to do this video earlier, and one of my biggest wishes actually came true. I didn't think Senran Kagura Burst on the 3DS was a good intro into the series because of its issues, and also because of the gameplay not being aligned with the later games. But the 3D remake of it, Burst Renewal, solves that problem. Now people unwilling to play the side-scrolling game don't need to miss out on the story of the first game. And that's stuff you'd really want to experience if you're going to get into the series. There are certain things that they've done in the past that I'd like to see continued. For example, I like the spin-offs that focus on different genres. It's fun to see how the fan service antics carry over. Whether it's the pinball game or the rhythm game they've done in the past, I thought they were a lot of fun, just because it just shows a little bit of, developers playing around and just having fun with the genres. In the future, I'd like to see a fighting game. Homura already appeared in one, Nitro Plus Blasters, so that's a thing. All the characters have their own signature moves and attacks, so imagine seeing all of those things in a fighting game environment. That would be a lot of fun. Something RPG-like is also something I'd like to see. Whether it's more like a, classic JRPG and turn-based, or real-time in order to preserve the hack-and-slash elements. I like the idea of being able to run around and, your party being whatever faction you selected. I also want to see more Peach Beach Splash type games. The game is relatively well done for a one-time effort, so it would be a shame to, not try and improve on that and see where it can be taken. Even just adding game modes often found in first-person shooters would add a lot to the game. A Battlefield-style conquest mode where you and the other team fight over various bases or control points is something that I had in mind. In a way, it would make it similar to Dynasty Warrior games because you try and take over the areas. A few more locations would help too. I didn't think there were enough in PBS, at least it always seemed like the same stages over and over again. In terms of the mainline hack-and-slash games, I think there's a lot that can be done. Something that's been neglected are character animations. When comparing the original 3DS game with the newest one, you'll see the same poses, expressions, and wonky mouth movements during cutscenes. Surely that would make sense to improve. But a big thing that would really improve the look of the game would be better lighting, and also shading. As an example, Neptunia V2 and V2R look a lot better than their predecessors because of overhauled lighting. Though let's not get into the discussion of V2 versus V2R because that's a whole other topic, which I've already talked about several times actually. Another series that looks a lot better due to improved lighting and shading is the Atelier series. Compare Atelier Lulua to Atelier Ryza. Despite having similar looking 3D models, the shading and lighting in Ryza adds a lot of atmosphere and mood. In that regard, Senran Kagura is lacking a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing some new game modes. Survival would be a good one. Maybe some sort of tower thing also, where each floor becomes more and more difficult. A tag team system would be a welcome return. Deep Crimson was the only game to feature something like that. That idea was actually implemented in Valkyrie Drive. Even small stuff like character interactions when the missions start was entertaining. I think that would work great in Senran Kagura. While a few locations and stages have been either improved or added over the years, or both, I still want to see an overhaul when it comes to the environments. Some locations play out quite linear, with a few deviations from the path being possible, but it would be nice to have more of those pathways to give, missions some variations. There are more open areas currently, but the problem is that often you get trapped in a, pocket of scenery, I guess. Not only because of the AI, but also because of the barriers, because they restrict your movement. The city stage is a good example of that. Perhaps it would be better to have larger areas that you can run around in more freely. Not only would it give you more free space to run around in, but it would also help flesh out the game world by making the locations more memorable and distinctive. There are a number of games with hack-and-slash gameplay that do this, like Nier Automata, Astral Chain, and basically everything that takes inspiration from Dynasty Warrior games. I'm not that into multiplayer for the most part, but improvements in that category wouldn't go unnoticed by me. What I was saying just now with the stages would improve multiplayer immensely, as well as provide a good foundation for more game modes. Adding local multiplayer is something I'm always supportive of, so that would be cool here as well. Senran Kagura games are pretty funny, so being able to play with friends in the same room would probably be a lot of fun. In terms of gameplay, I know people are a bit divided. There's a vocal group of fans who prefer the smooth gameplay of Shinobi Versus, but I personally prefer Estival Versus and Burst Renewal because you have to think a bit more about what you're doing. But I get it, Shinobi Versus has a satisfying feel to it, while the later games are not really clunky, but a bit more fussy, I guess. I'm actually having a hard time thinking of a good way to describe it, but I'll bring up Nier Automata and Astral Chain again, as well as actually Fate Extella. Those games give you more options in battle with different ways to dodge and things like that, which in turn means it's more open to different types of playing styles. Some of you may be aware of the mobile games that we didn't get in the West, Senran Kagura New Wave and New Link. Both games have several characters yet to be introduced to us in the main games, as is evident by all the illustrations from these games. Some of you might have seen them floating around various image boards. It would be great if one of the future games could provide us with a bit of a summary because, well, I'd like to know who these people are. If you've had a look through some of these illustrations, I'm sure you've noticed that they often contain outfits not found in any of the games. For a while now, it's usually the same old ones in most games. Frustratingly, they're often only accessible if you pay for the DLC. So instead of paying for the same outfits every game, how about throwing some new ones in there for a change? Outfits and other visual customizations have always been a big part of the game, so it would be nice to keep building on that. I know not everyone who plays Senran Kagura is into that, but I like to put characters in sexy outfits. Besides, it's worth it for the when your custom character is in a cutscene moments. Yeah, sometimes I go off the deep end, it looks like. So yeah, those are some of the things I'd like to see in upcoming Senran Kagura games. Let me know what you think. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. Check out Patreon, the merch store, Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.